Jenny is the state member for what is sometimes described as the newest, smallest and the funkiest electorate in New South Wales, Newtown. And she is also the, in her previous avatar, the crisis coordinator with the Amnesty International, and has been at the forefront in terms of the Amnesty International's response to the North Africa and the Middle East uprising, and has also, is also the spokesperson for human rights for the Greens, New South Wales Greens. So, without much further ado, I would like to please join me in welcoming Jenny Leong on stage.
Thank you very much, Sonam, and I too would like to begin by acknowledging that we are here today gathered on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land, and whenever we talk about self-determination or human rights or the struggle of people to be recognised in their country, especially in this land and on Gadigal land, we should acknowledge that the struggle for Aboriginal justice in this country is one that is still ongoing, and we must all commit to join and support that struggle. I'd also like to acknowledge that my Greens colleague Jamie Parker, the member for Balmain, has joined us. Welcome, Jamie. And acknowledge the incredible opening that we had that reminds us about the importance of protecting the culture and ensuring that the living culture and traditions and creativity of the Tibetan people are actually continued on. So thank you very much for that performance as well. It is an absolute pleasure to be here today, and there are so many faces that I know that are leaders, representatives, community members that actually are inspiring such incredible grassroots movements across this state, but also linking us into global movements around the world. And I think that if there is one thing that I have realised coming into this place, and I appreciate we are very privileged to have a peaceful democracy in this state and in this country, although I can assure you when you're sitting in that chamber and everyone is yelling, it does not feel very peaceful at times. But I think that one of the reasons why I'm so pleased to be able to host this event today and host the launch of Tenzin's book is actually because of the fact that there is a real risk when we do things in state parliament, in our local communities, that we get so focused on the local issues, that we feel so isolated, that our struggles or our campaigns or our issues are actually just impacting on us in one local area. And we tend to at times put our blinkers on and focus in. And as someone that used to have a focus in my role at Amnesty International with a very much a world perspective, focusing on where the crisis or the uprisings or the elections that were happening or the crackdowns on peaceful protests were occurring, it's been a pretty massive shift and shock to focus on 11 square kilometres, which is the electorate of Newtown, right here in the middle of Sydney. And so it is wonderful to be able to host this event, because it is wonderful for us to be able to remember and recognise that the struggles that are happening and the commitment that we all have to self-determination, to human rights, to social change, to peace, to non-violence are actually struggles that unite us, not just in this community with our diversity and our diverse backgrounds, but unite us with our brothers and sisters and friends across the world in our commitment to this non-violent struggle. And I think that that is something that we should always acknowledge, and I thank you all for being here to remind us that in this place we should recognise that those struggles are unified. I'd like to take a minute to talk about the fact that one of the really powerful things that we have here is a connection in Tenzin and his story and his contribution to self-determination for Tibetan people that actually links across borders, across countries, across time zones and across places. And I was just talking earlier and hearing that Tenzin has arrived here but is on a sort of tour of different places, and I think it's really important to remember that actually when we're looking at any community that has been displaced, that has been dispossessed and persecuted in their home country, that one of the biggest struggles is making sure that those communities can be unified across the different homelands that they're now in. And it is amazing that we have the opportunity for people who are actually contributing to this movement, to this grassroots movement, to be able to bring and connect and continue those connections along. So it's really wonderful to be able to launch this book, but I think it is a real credit to everybody that is recognising that there's an importance to keep those connections and ignore the borders, ignore the boundaries, and keep those connections between communities despite the countries and the homelands that people now live in. It's pretty astounding, and none of you need to be told that we've seen that since 1950 an estimate that around a regional population of 6 million, 1 million Tibetans have died through fighting, imprisonment, torture. And we heard Sonam in the introduction talking about the fact that non-violent struggles around the world face not a non-violent response, but an actual aggressive and offensive in its attack on individuals that engage in non-violent direct action. And I think that it's pretty clear that any community, any group of peoples that is able to stand and hold with a non-violent struggle in the face of such persecution, in the face of such violence, in the face of such attack, is one that is not only should be looked to and learnt from, but one that we should also feel inspired and committed to following, because they are the true leaders if they are able to maintain that non-violent struggle in the face of such violence and such aggression. While the Tibetan community here in New South Wales and in Australia is not that large, and I take the point from Tenzin's book talking about the challenge that we have as external actors to be able to push to ensure that treatment of refugee and asylum seekers fleeing persecution is one of the things that can be done. I also think the other thing that is important is for us to talk about the power of non-violent direct action struggles, and I think that everybody can take inspiration from that. And I just wanted to read you, I'm sorry I have lost the page as I walked up here, so you'll just have to bear with me. I just wanted to read you a small sentence which stuck with me in terms of where we're headed and what can be done, because I think that it says in this book, although many Tibetans may feel that the Tibetan resistance movement has exhausted the tools of non-violent resistance, this study makes it clear that the movement has explored only part of the great inventory of the non-violent weaponry. And I think that if we look at that and we look at learning from each other, I think that it's clear from the accounts in this book, but also from the examples that Sonam mentioned at the beginning, that there is such an ability for us to learn across movements, across non-violent struggles from each other, to be able to build a strength for a peaceful world and for a world which respects human rights. It is an absolute honour to be able to host you here today and to be able to launch this book. I encourage you all to get a copy. It's Christmas time, so there might be someone that needs one. But also, I think what's more important is actually to all stick together, to all recognise across the different struggles that we have about the need to respect peace and non-violence. It's something that I have been proud to be a member of the Greens, a party who has long stood with the Tibetan community. Our former leader, Bob Brown, has a long history of standing up for the Tibetan community, and it is something that I hope that our Australian Greens colleagues and here our colleagues in the New South Wales Parliament can continue to do until we see self-determination realised for the Tibetan people. Thank you.